watching a film about an episode of The Twilight Zone, and what is it like to see yourself in a project like this?
Pretty horrible. It's like I'm okay watching myself in a sitcom as, you know, Nick the Plumber. But me as me is just, it's, watching this is kind of like, you know, the first time you hear your voice or you see yourself on film and you go, no, there's something wrong with that. That's not how I sound. And that's not how I move around.
But there it is.
Yeah.
So when you're producing a project like this, how do you know when you finally have it?
You definitely never know until you actually have it. I don't know if we ever told you this, but we didn't know if we had a movie until we knew we had a movie, which was many, many, many months in. We didn't know how we were going to end the film. And it was going to be one storyline, then it was another one, then it was another one. So definitely with this one, you just never know.
And my understanding was the releases weren't signed until...
Yeah. I mean, as a producer, it's the last thing you want to tell someone.
Right.
They never signed a piece of paper. It's your one job. Get them to sign off.
I love the Frankenstein image, not just in the apartment, but then the callback later. And I think something that's interesting about Frankenstein's monster is he's misunderstood as a character. He's actually the sympathetic character in that film. And over time, he's come to be known as a monster, but he really is really a sympathetic character. And I think there's something interesting about that. What is your attraction to the monster characters, both Bela Lugosi's Dracula and Karloff's Frankenstein?
And he was always, I mean, like when I grew up, it was like I always said, like, the greatest film school in the country was in your living room. Because it's like they would show movies 24 hours a day. And they would have like the gangster movies with Bogart and Robinson, Cagney. And then another channel would have the old monster movies. Which, I mean, I love the gangster ones, but the monster movies I fell in love with. And there's an identity you have with them. Like Frankenstein was just a baby that he just wanted to be loved.
He's just misunderstood.
I discovered that Twitter is a very expensive hobby to have.
It's great. And usually now your tweets, you end them with a disclaimer.
I do jokes. I'll do the dumbest jokes that like a 2-year-old would groan at. And I ended with, if I do like, why did the chicken cross the road? I ended with, I apologize to old chickens.
Yes, over here.
If I had to guess which episode was the most special to you, it seemed to be the Dick Van Dyke one. While there's others that are great, is that true? And if so, why? Or does it rank up there as being very special to you?
Yeah, I mean, there have been a number of guests where I can't believe I'm sitting with them, and certainly Dick Van Dyke was one of those. And what makes it even better, it's like, I think one of the things with the podcast was people I would like to talk to, but I have no reason to talk to. Now I have a reason to.
We have one over here.
So I once heard Ringo Starr in an interview say that every single performance he ever had, he ran on stage to the drum set to get there as quickly as he could and start playing before he had to look at the audience. Would you say that's where your yelling comes from, is almost a defense mechanism to start out that way and get into it before you realize where you are and how many people are watching you?
Yeah. I always run up to my drum set. I've had some fights with John and Paul over the years. But I got to marry and fuck Barbara Bach every night, so you know,
We're going to take a question over for Dixon's not going to do that.
I don't know how I follow that up, but for decades, part of your entire charm and appeal was that you never broke character. I mean, some of the things I saw in the movie Arsenio Hall and Tonight Show and things like that, I remember watching you on those shows. You never, ever, ever broke character. What was it like, both you, Gilbert, and Dara, to make the decision that, okay, we're going to make a movie that's going to pull back the curtain? This is the first time any of us have seen anything but the Gilbert Gottfried character. Can you talk about that?
I always think of like the Wizard of Oz, because it's like they pull back the curtain and he's this pathetic schmuck. And, so that scared me.
It was a really hard decision. It
Yeah.
was a really hard decision.
Oh, yeah.
And I think also the timing, because if Neil wasn't so persistent, we never asked to do this. It kind of came to us, and Arlene was dying, and just the timing was. We just said, well, it's.
And Neil had come to me and he said, I've always dreamt of doing a Gilbert Gottfried documentary. And I said, well, you should set your dreams a lot higher.
Do you realize how important you are to underground culture as well? You were one of my favorite things in the Ramones interviews. You were there for Night Flight. There was a lot of things that were so New York because of you. I host Atlanta's longest running comedy show based off of what you did as a kid. It inspired me. Thank you, sir.
Oh, thank you.
A true legend. There's more hands up. I don't know if there's. I'll ask a question while we're waiting. Then, so do you still have the collection of the soaps and all that? Is that still?
I haven't admitted this to Gilbert, but I actually donated.
I was going to say. I was going to suggest, in the spirit of the Jewish Film Festival, we get a great tax write-off if you donate it to a good charity.
I donated a bunch, but I also organized a bunch, so I actually have now a drawer of soaps and shampoos and one of conditioners.
When we premiered at Tribeca, the gift and the marketing ploy when people left was a bag full of the toiletries. Like, here you go.
But you should start signing it as merch. And your shows.
He does use it though.
The Eastern Airlines stuff.
The bars is soap Gilbert, right?
Yeah.
It's funny, when I was first moving in with Dara, I had all these soaps, and airlines used to give soaps, and they'd have these tiny soap. And so I asked my sister, I said, do you need any soap? And she said, well, I'd like it, but not those tiny ones. And so what I did, I stayed up most of the night running these tiny soaps underwater and pressing them together, and they were all pointed in weird directions.
You made big bars and came. It was Mother's Day, I remember, and you came with a huge garbage bag filled with these bars that you had made. You listened to your sister.
Arts and crafts. We have a question in the back.
Yeah. How do you think Lenny Bruce would do today?
The what?
How would Lenny Bruce do today as a comic?
Oh, gee, it's so weird because it's now you listen to Lenny Bruce and it's you wonder what was the big commotion about? And so you forget what that time period was. I mean, now it's stuff he says you'd find in the Family Hour.
But he's still profound and brilliant.
Oh, yes.
So I think he'd do pretty well, right?
The what?
As a comedian, he'd still...
Oh, yes, absolutely. And what he went through is more than any other comic's gone through. I mean, he was just destroyed.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because as certain characters evolve. They were shocking, and now they're kind of these elder statesmen. I mean, if you look at John Waters now, he goes around doing art shows and so forth.
Oh, yes.
He was the Farrelly brothers have essentially done everything he's done to gross people out. So he's now like the elder statesman. So I like to think Lenny Bruce would be the same way. He would do family hour comedy. Yes.
Hi, thank you all so much for such an amazing film. It was so obvious to me, Dara, that you have just been such an incredible support and wonderful friend, wife, companion to Gilbert. And throughout the whole movie, he basically said, fuck you, and wouldn't hug you, and wouldn't kiss you. So it would make my night, and since Valentine's is coming up, and I know you guys just had an anniversary, because I saw the date on the card, would you please look at your wife and say, I love you, honey, thank you for everything, and give her a big wet one for us all to see.
This way of saying I love you is go fuck yourself.
So remember when I said
I love you, honey.
that was going to be one of the storylines, actually. That was going to be one of the endings of our film. Can we get Gilbert to say I love you to Dara? Yeah. Thank you.
Not in front of a whole crowd of people, right?
That I got. There's one back. Yes.
Hi. My question is, your language is, well, we'll call it colorful and fun. It keeps us on our toes. Are you ever in a situation where you need to hold back and it's difficult, or do you ever slip up? And how does that all work if you're in an audience that your colorful language is not appropriate? And how does that sort of work out for you?
Yeah, I mean, that's just one of those things, like, well, it's in the movie where if I'm not supposed to say something, that's when it's just impossible not to say it.
But you did. I mean, like I said at the beginning of the movie, you didn't used to do that. I mean, you just recently did like a corporate gig or whatever, and they asked you to work clean, and you did an hour of clean material. I mean, it's possible. It's just, you know.
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, I mean, for most of the years of my career, I was like going out of my way not to say any dirty words, because I wanted to make sure every joke worked on its own. And but boy, then once I started doing dirty, it was hard to turn around.
You can't let those cats back in the
Oh,
car.
yes.
Yes, in the back there.
Yeah, I was wondering, here's Trump, he tweets anything he wants, he gets in no trouble, and you tell, and he's not even funny, you tell a few jokes, you tweet it, and you get fired. How do you feel about all that?
Well, what was...
the question is about Donald Trump's Twitter habit versus your Twitter habit. You got fired for saying something else.
Yeah, that's... I'm quite jealous of him.
Well, and for those, I mean, you famously roasted him on Comedy Central and then were on The Celebrity Apprentice. So you have a personal interaction. You've been in a room with him, and he's fired you.
In fact, and this was before he was elected, he was just the game show host back then. And I was campaigning for Pat Sajak. I remember at one of the meetings there, and he complimented me on something, and I said, thank you, mein Führer.
It was actually, NBC did not cut it. It was actually on the show.
Yes.
And I'm sure he would love the Papa John Phillips joke, right?
Oh, yes.
Was there another? I saw hands. Okay, we can take one last question. I think we can take one more question if that's possible. We're not. I don't know. Yes, just one last one. Sorry. Yeah, right up there.
Me?
Yeah, she's bringing the microphone right here. Yeah.
Oh, don't touch it. Okay. Have you found that you, like, as you've gotten older, are you still as fearless? Like, is there, in this politically correct climate, is there anything you're afraid of, like, having, you know, making fun of? Or are you still fearless since the Affleck thing?
Yeah. No, there's nothing I won't make fun of. I just continue it. I think once you start getting scared and censoring yourself, then I think people love to get offended. And but there's something when they come see a comic or some movies, you know, you don't want a roller coaster that goes very slowly and doesn't make any sudden drops. You really want to feel like you're going to die.
And that's comedy right there. We want to thank you all you do.